I recently came across some AI deepfake videos that stopped me mid stroll. The detail was stunning. Not just a flat image with moving lips, but fabric that moved realistically, lighting that shifted naturally, and a person that seemed genuinely present. For a moment, I forgot that it wasn't real. And then it hit me. We're entering an age where the line between authentic human content and AI generated media is becoming increasingly blurred. For those of us building businesses as creators, especially women who've worked so hard to establish genuine connections with our audiences, this raises an important question. How do we use these powerful tools without losing ourselves in the process? But first, I'm Jerusha. Welcome to Balance Muse, where we talk about wealth, wisdom, and greater well being. And now, let's get into it. Now, for someone that has worked for many years within the fashion industry, I've worked as a trend forecaster and also as a professional stylist. I'm very used to working the worlds of fantasy within the realms of reality. So that's always paying attention to using a way to create a vision that the photographer sees or that the editor wants to see in a magazine and creating an idealistic version of what you would want to see with the clothing or the story that you want to create with the clothing. But the thing about it was there was always a real human that we were trying to cater to or make sure that we were marketing to. So that means we had to keep the aspirational story of what we wanted to create for our ideal client. So if you wanted to set a casual tone or friendly or even quirky tone, you could weave the clothing into the story as to how you would style it, what the model would look like, what her hair would look like, and the placement of where she was in an environment to create that story for your client. But with the onset of deep fakes, we don't even need humans anymore, which is really interesting. We used to be able to employ photographers and models and go to locations and have props for a shoot, but that's not needed. You can create whole films, whole images, and even place the models or create the models yourselves with AI. And with that kind of thing for it's it's a wonderful thing for small independent creators or filmmakers because it opens the access to people that would have never been able to use these tools before, or they just didn't have the budgets to be able to command use of these tools. But with AI, it's leveling the playing field. And with that, there comes some concerns. The draw to people wanting to see more authentic content is becoming more and more real. People want to see more real authenticity as opposed to seeing AI created content. And the more questions arise, what happens when your audience can't tell if it's real content or not? Or what happens when anyone can create content and a convincing replica of your image, your voice, or your style? So, for small independent filmmakers and content creators and business owners, it's not just a philosophical or ethical question that's a concern, it's practical because our businesses are built on authenticity and people buying from us who work with us, they trust us because of the genuine human connection that we've made for ourselves. When I was working with luxury brands, we understood something that you don't just buy products. You buy the aspirational lifestyle. You buy the messaging. You buy the story. And you buy the feeling of an authentic lifestyle to someone. It's an aspirational thing. So if you wanted to inhabit or live in that world of that luxury person or that wealthy person, you wanted to create the type of picture that they wanted to see for themselves. How does a creator balance the onset of AI tools and also remain authentic to their audience, especially if you spent a long time building up your audience? and establishing a connection with them. So when audiences can't tell what's real, how do we maintain this connection? And it really got me thinking about, first of all, how excited I am because I see the opportunities and I tend to see the positive side of the opportunities of things that we can create with AI. But it did make me pause and take notice that AI does need to have guardrails. And if you're going to be a creator that's going to use these tools, you've got to think consciously of how to incorporate these tools without losing your genuine connection with your audience. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was what fashion and luxury branding taught me. Okay. So when I was working in the fashion industry, and this is some years ago, one of the first things that I learned was working with all of these luxury brands is that it's the story that you're telling with your clothing. It's the story, it's the client or the customer wants to see for themselves. As in, when you're making an ad or when you're going on a photo shoot, you create the story in your mind. We might even have storyboards of what is approved before we even start picking models or looking for locations. We have the set of clothing that the client wants to use, and then we create a story around it. So, say if you were doing an ad campaign for Ralph Lauren, there's a certain type of image that their brand wants to convey. So it's very upper class or upper middle class. You think of polo, like obviously like your polo shirt, but polo matches. You think about tradition. You think about classic lines, quiet wealth. So that kind of luxury, but it's still accessible to everyday people because people can actually buy these things and it's not over the top price. It's not an out of reach or label for most people. So it still has an element of looking a certain way, but it's accessible wealth and the story of accessible wealth for most people. How do you think of these tools? And the way I think of them is let the AI enhance the story that you want to bring. Let the AI enhance the brand tone and style that you want to create, but don't let it be the style. Don't let AI dictate what you want to convey in your story. AI is just there to help you tell the story, not to take over the story. Okay. So, three practical strategies for ethical AI use. Number one, strategy number one, you have to know your brand essence. That means you need to know what your brand is all about. What is the style? What is the tone? What type of archetype is your brand? What would your customer say or do on a daily basis? When I started seeing online the become her type thing that was coming around with the quiet wealth or soft life trend that was happening online, it was very feminine. It was very at ease. It was very peaceful. And many women either resonated with that or they aspired to be that. So that's why they set out to become her, which is very good, if you know your own brand and that's what you want to convey. But like, don't let AI dictate to you or any other creator dictate to you what your brand would be. So you need to know upfront who you're going to be as a creator and look for people or what I would say your tribe to see who would resonate with that. So the key point is to use AI to support your essence, but not to define your essence. Okay. Strategy number two, if you love it, live it and wear it on camera. So if, coming back to fashion, say you're a clothing influencer and you try on clothing, you make videos about it, you post it to your LTK account, you post it to your Amazon storefront account, but it's actually you in those clothing getting the reviews, feeling the fabric, seeing the fit, seeing how the lines work on your body, and if it looks good or you can make it look presentable. You're making your own little fashion shoot, to be honest. It's not that you can't use AI with that, but especially because some platforms do not allow AI generated content, but it doesn't mean that everything has to be exactly as you photographed it or you videotaped it. So think of AI as what I love to use AI with is to adjust my lighting, the coloring, making everything even. I'd like to keep my same size and shape. I don't want it to change my body. And just now AI is getting much better at conveying the correct body and your face all together so that it's consistent. But using AI to either write your captions for your Instagram photos, if you're using Instagram, or even making small B roll photos or video, excuse me, B roll videos for your own website, that's where you can use AI to help cut down on the editing time. Also, if you're writing articles, keeping your same brand voice or inputting your brand voice, you can write articles that match your pictures and everything if you're using that as an affiliate. That helps when you use it as a tool to help with it, as opposed to taking all that time to Photoshop and correct the color, which used to take me ages. But now that I'll just put it in AI and it cuts down so much on my time of editing my content. And strategy number 3 is you have to know your ideal client and avoid the comparison trap. And I know I'm very guilty of this, as looking at other people's content and saying, "Oh, she's doing, this style over here. Maybe I should try that." Or I love the way that she does her thumbnails. I'll try that. Or maybe I should hold a little microphone up to my face because that's what everybody's doing because it looks cute and it's more authentic. But if it's not authentic to you or it doesn't feel natural to you, then it's just going to look fake. I would say not to get, not to say that other people's ideas or other content creators can't serve as inspiration, but it's this comes back to knowing yourself, knowing your brand, and knowing what you want to convey and who you're trying to talk to. So that means knowing your vibe, which is your brand, and then knowing your tribe or finding your tribe, which is the content you're creating for the people that you want to serve. I've seen a lot of things online where people are creating whole AI influencer kits or whole AI twin kits, which I think can have a place. It might be a little early for the audience to catch up to accepting full AI clones or look at seeing it as an authentic product. Now, if you have a type of audience that does not care about your real face or your authentic real human body, they don't care about you using an AI clone. Or if you're working in a tech heavy space that wants to see the AI clone in action and see how good it is, to see how well it blends. That could also go for if you're a filmmaker or you're making ads. You may want to see or create clones and influencers that work well for the clients that you want to work with. But if it's an audience that cares about your face being present, just add it as a spice. Don't let it take over the whole dish. So be very, very cautious and careful of how you incorporate AI, and always let your audience know, hey, this video was created with AI, this magazine cover, this image was created with AI. Put that in your content to let them know that this is something that you're using so that people understand. I think a lot more people would be accepting it with it if people were more honest. And I think that the problems come in when people aren't honest or when people use AI for malicious intent, which we can't really stop, but we can try to be more practical and more forward thinking and proactive in making sure that our audiences know. So this is for all the practical world use. So use your real photos, but use AI tools for editing, for optimization, for supporting materials like your scripts and that kind of thing. Almost like you're using Adobe Photoshop and you have a script writer if you were an actor or an actress. Don't put brand names at all if you're going to be pitching for clients or wanting to have certain brand deals. Do not put their brand names in your photos. Make up a brand and say, hey, I want to do work. Would this work kind of work interest you? I really love your brand. I'd love to do some work with you, but do not put their name in it because, they might think, hey, she's trying to sell stuff or something. You don't want to do that. and build an authentic connection first, then pitch the brands with your track record. So for most people, because AI is so new and because the social media is being almost inundated with I would feel, or the strategy that I'm going to do is to work on connection first, being in a relationship where my audience understands where I'm coming from with AI and being forthright with that and seeing, who resonates with that. And then just slowly scaling up and adding it to brands much later or working with brands in real life. But just honesty above all else, just honesty across the board. You can far outseed anybody who's just doing pure AI without any editing, just posting as soon as it's something written and you want to use it as an artist, a real person who they would take their hands if they were doing sculpting and add your personal touch, your authenticity to the tool to create something beautiful. So, for those of you who are fearful of what AI will be doing moving forward, you can't control everything that is going on, but you can only control what you do. And you can only be the most ethical person you can be, knowing that the tools are going to be used in good ways and in bad, and prepare yourself either way. So, putting a cover over your head and just pretending it hasn't happened is not, in my opinion, the best way to go. But preparing in advance, being honest with your audience, working ethically within those parameters, that has the best case for success. So that is all I wanted to talk about today. And I want to ask you, are you using any AI tools within your creative process? Especially if you're, a fashion creator, let me know. Are you using it as the try on tool? Or even if you're just a consumer and using those try on tools, um, I want to know. I want to know, how do you work? Which ones do you like? And let me know in the comments. And so until next time, I'll see you later. Take care. Bye bye.